India is the second most populous country in the world with an average age of 29. It has one of the most youngest populations in the world. These young people are driving a culture of innovation, entrepreneurship, and diversity, which offers both a workplace as well as market. Therefore, we can firmly say that students and youth have a definite role in transforming urban India. A very good morning to all from Team Tech-Nexus. I hope you all are doing fine. Today, in the fourth part of our guest lecture series, we have gathered here to learn about the role of youth in transforming urban India from our honorable guest, Mr. Hitesh Vaidya. He is currently the director of National Institute of Urban Affairs and has worked for more than 20 years in the field of broad-based urban development policy, project formulation, implementation, and program management. His strengths are his interpersonal skills and the ability to respond to demanding situations by mobilizing the required skills and strengths of others to complement his work. Sir, we welcome you to enlighten us with your knowledge, experience, and visionary ideas.
Good morning, everyone. And I know it is a lovely rainy morning of Saturday. Uh, and I don't know whether you people are relaxing or cursing for organizing this lecture because you must have been enjoying the lovely weather. Uh, so I hope this is a demand driven lecture and not forced on you to really join this lecture. So I will try to be as short as possible and let you enjoy the uh, uh, rest of the weekend. I'll also try to be non-jargonized and simple, but I want more to be interactive rather than just a one-way street. So I hope we will have a good interaction after the lecture is over. But before I start, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to the organizers, NIT, uh, Hamirpur, as well as Tech-Nexus for inviting me to deliver this guest lecture. So thanks for that. And I hope you are all also keeping safe. Uh, it, you know, when I joined this agreed to join this lecture series, uh, there were three compelling reasons, and that is what excited me. And first of all was this topic is very close to my heart, and I have been discussing over a period of couple of years with a different type of stakeholders. How do you involve youth in the urban discourse? Secondly, you rarely get a chance to interact with young minds because I always believe that over a period of 20 years of experience, your mind gets stagnant. And you, young people, you have an open mind. I know you have also, in my days, there was no Google Doctor. Now you have a Google, you have a more wider perspective, and I think you can bring much more innovative ideas on the table than we have we who have lived. And I strongly believe that the time has come for young people to take the baton and people like us to really be just a guiding and think because you come up with a lot of new ideas. And third compelling reason, which is very personal because I belong to the state of Himachal. So when it came from Hamirpur, it was like going back to the your own state, and it gives you a lot of nostalgia of your own journey from the small town of Dharamshala to now Delhi of last 20 years, and all the thoughts, the feelings which you had during that process. So I hope I'll be able to enjoy all these three excitements while I'm delivering this lecture here. And we all, I don't want to get into a numbers, but we all know this century really referred to as an urban century. And while whole globe is moving towards urban, India is also moving towards this on this trajectory of where we are seeing urban population continuously rising. So there is a very little point in elaborating the challenges and issues of urbanization in cities because all of you are aware of this. But in my mind, urbanization is simply not counting the numbers of urban residents we have brought in, but it is how you develop these places that offer better employment, that offer better living environment, and how does it provide social securities where people love to live, work, and play. And that is what I think the urbanization really brings it. The world says by 2040, 85% of the India world will be urban. And India right now is second largest urban system with almost 11% of the global population living in Indian cities. Uh, and where we have also reaching a turning point where we are looking at urbanization as a positive side to create an economic transformation, because where half of the country would be urban in few decades, this is a young force which also will be getting, and the figure says that we have young population 15 to 59 years, around 65%. So it is the young, not a urban century for the world, but also young century for India. We all know the challenges, so I don't want to get into that also. uh, we know that cities are expanding. We know that rural urban interlinkages are becoming a challenge. uh, Slums are coming up. Land tenure is becoming an issue, even providing a basic services to everyone. Disasters, and we are looking at pandemic right now. We know what are the challenges our urban local bodies are facing. And we have also heard, and I think you are young people, you know that we also heard the climate issues. COP26 happened recently. The commitments which Prime Minister made at the global level. Also, India signatory to the global mandates like Sustainable Development Goals, Sendai Framework, Paris Agreement, New Urban Agenda. All of that has to be done in urbanization. So it also gives us a lot of thinking that is this a business as usual approach which we are doing will really lead to us a better future? Or is it that we need to start thinking the transformation agenda which will shape the urban future of the country? And we also saw during the COVID, Prime Minister talked about Atam Nirbhar Bharat. He talked about 5 trillion economy. He talked about vocal, local. But all of this, if you really look at it, where will it, the action, these are good talks, these are good policy directions, but these directions will have to be implemented at a local level, at a city level. And that is where I see, if we are talking about moving away from business as usual approach to a new approach, then we need to really start thinking of what should be the new approach. Because all of us, in what we want actually, we only want three things. Whether our strategies, our programs, our missions, all really looking for three things. And these three things are: let's improve the living conditions. Second is improve the economic capabilities and capacities of cities, where employment, other economic, cities start becoming economically viable. And third is we want better management and governance of our cities. So this is the three broad areas which we really, well, we also know that one size fit all approach will not work. We need to really move towards preparing a culture where states and cities are encouraged to create solutions and respond to their unique conditions. So it has to be very, very contextualized, because we have to, start working towards celebrating and leveraging plurality of India. That is essential to an idea of Indianness, rather than having a top-down standard approach. So that's the big challenge which we have to have. And as I said earlier, with the COVID, with the challenges which we have seen over the last 2 years, and now with 2022, we thought we have managed. We are still, the third wave is haunting us. And the cities, the way they have been managing this whole challenge. over a period of time. And we also saw the young people who are working hands in hands with the cities. We need to really come up with the, can our city be better prepared? Can we really look at how young generation can contribute to this new preparedness or new challenging environment which is coming up? How we want to really make a better future. And it's a, you people who are on the call, you will be the city managers next time, and you will be managing these challenges. Things how we can, how institutions can equip you better to manage these challenges. That's the challenge which we have to do. And as we said, it's very nice to say that move away from business as usual approach. But what is this new approach? If I cut this cord, what is the new cord? What is the new areas? And I think this new thing will not come on its own. It has to be deliberated. It has to be designed. It has, and once the design is prepared, we have to develop the strategies to really roll out this design. We also have to start thinking, where is the financing for coming up for these new strategies? Who will finance them? Where will the money come from? Then we also have to look at, if who will manage these strategies? Who are the people who are responsible for managing these strategies? So what is the new roles? What is the new game rules of the game we need to establish? The responsibilities. Is the model which we have right now, urban local bodies, is the right model, or we need to do this? 74th Constitution Amendment, which provided a third tier of governance, and think 25 years have happened. We all, our every topic last 2 years or 3 years, we 74th Amendment did not happen. Cities are not empowered. If that has to be changed, then what is that change has to be? How do we empower? What model we have? We need to think about this. Again, the way implementation mechanism, a top-down mission-driven approach, or a demand-driven approach from bottom up, need to be come up where people demand what they want, rather than the center says that what I want to give. So, what is that model we want to have? Or we want to have a hybrid model, little bit of top-down or little bit of demand-driven. I think all of that has to be thought about. And lastly, institutional mechanisms. And question is, right now we are saying nothing is, and I was just having a discussion today morning while preparing for this class, and my wife was saying that we have not seen anything changing. You are being too optimistic. But I'm saying, what is that? Is this a discourse we want to have something when our next generation says that nothing has changed? How do you measure the impacts? How do you measure the outcomes? I think we have been very harsh on our thing, because today, while we are giving this lecture, and I give a full credit to India and Indian systems. If you say Indian system has failure and Indian system is not working, but if you see, we look at US, you look at, if you say this developed country, their system has been, they are worse than us in managing COVID. So in all these uncertainties, if we have been able to survive, it is the informality of our system. It's the, if you call it, the way we are resilient in India as a country, India as a people are resilient, and we have survived and managed systems in this such a way. I think we have done excellent work for ourselves, and we all need to tap our own backs, because within the challenges, within these complexities, within the scale of India, we have still managed to come out and keep our head held high. I think that's really need a great applause and celebrations, actually, rather than being challenging. We all know the challenges. There is no way of escaping from the challenges. I'm not saying that challenges are not there, but if these challenges have to be really addressed, we need to start learning for these new approaches, new technologies. But we also need to really get into defining the new roles as responsibilities, attitudes in the workplaces. And so the discourse has to really start moving towards creating an instruments and tools which add value and integrate different elements of cities to foster inclusive urban societies. I know Arnav talked about youth, young people, too many, and we all know that demographic patterns. Don't ask me statistics because I'm poor in maths. I always was. The demographic patterns which has come up, we know the rapid urbanization, and we also know the large youth populations. The challenge which we is how do you harness this power of this young population in the urban emerging scenario to unleash their potential to build cities for the future. And that is the topic which I want to have a discussion in my mind. In my mind, there are 9 areas where I think young minds can contribute. Uh, Not only addressing the urban challenges, but also making cities as economical, viable entities and creating economic opportunities, not for the country, not for the city, but also for themselves. So that first thing which I will pose a question, do all of you really see a career in urban governance? Because if all the challenges have to be met by urban local bodies, do you see a career for yourself? The first thing is the youth has to start seeing a career in the urban local government, because whatever infrastructure we talk about, whatever ways we want to have a local governments are going to be on the spotlight of desired changes. Whatever changes we have to have, it will happen at the local government, so they will continue to remain on the spotlight. So and I particularly feel, and if urbanization is an engine of driving economic development, then you young people are the engineers to drive that engine. So how do you drive that engine? I think that is where we need to start out. And the most important ingredient or infrastructure which we have is educated minds like you, who have to start this new approach, which has to come up. And how do we use this dynamic human resource into the urban local bodies? That is where we want to see that young people start seeing a value in working with urban local bodies. They want to see, and they could start building these great institutions of urban local governments. Because if you build a local institution, then only you will build great cities. We always tell यूरोप की सिटी बहुत अच्छी है, फ्रांस में cities बहुत अच्छी है. If India में cities का problem है, because we have not built those institutions. And if we want to build these cities, we have to build these institutions. And I think this requires a paradigm shift. This requires a way we want to really uh, come up with the new skills, new organization setup, new implementation framework. And how do you manage these cities? So administration and planning is one area where I think city young people has to start looking at it. We need to now the way things have emerged over a period of time, we need a multiple disciplinary skill set at the city level. We need space design experts, we need statistics, we need economics, we need environmental science, we need project financing, we need project management, sociology, community engagement. So that's the type of people which we need. I'll just give around 10 years back, I went to a city called Bodh Gaya, and I asked and I was driven by a defeat agenda of making a citizen charter for every city. So you give a timelines and you give a services, and you say this time they have to be managed within the time framework. The services have to be delivered. And I gave my pitch in English, very good jargonized English, articulated enough. And the commissioner over there, he listened to me very nicely for half an hour, 40 minutes. And then he said, "Sir, first of all, I'm a municipal health officer. I'm managing the city. And I have a 30 man workforce. Out of that, 22 are street sweeping persons. So I have 8 people. Either you get me a time frame to manage, or I manage the city. You tell me what is the choice." That's the type of manpower which we have. So how do you bring invest? And I think that is what the challenge is with the youth and with the government at a policy level. We need to invest in the human capital. We need to really come up with the skill sets, with the uh, 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 and the areas where youth can come contribute to manage complexities of cities of today. So in NIUA, sorry, I did not introduce even myself. So I'm a director of National Institute of Urban Affairs, which is supposed to be a think tank of Government of India. And I think while we are doing it, we are trying to do a lot of like this. How do you bring young people into the urban space? So we have looked at five broad areas. One is climate, one is river, one is safe cities, one is digital India, smart cities. Where we are trying different type of programs. We have a link, you can Google it also, and you can look at it. We have a India Smart City Fellowship Program. We are coming a National Urban Digital Missions Fellowship Program. We are coming up Young Professionals Program, and we are also linking institutions with the partnership with the which was launched yesterday, partnership of academia and the practice. So it is a land to lab and lab to land type of a relationship which we are building. We have started a new program called SAR. It's called Smart Cities and Academic Towards Action and Research. I think people of like you, this is all what we are doing it, but will be under the umbrella of thing. But we are looking at young people to start innovating, to start implementing, to start actioning with the cities in different types of frameworks which we have developed. See, right now it's the initial stage. It should have done 25 years back, but we are trying to work on it so that tomorrow's city managers, planners, or engineers are much more equipped, because they are the today's students in our country. And how do we really bring this relationship between academia and the practice has to be done. And NIUA as a mandate is bridge the gap between the practice and the policy, and that is what we are trying to do. I know, and the idea is what you learn in the class, you go and experiment it on the ground, and what you learn from the ground can influence the curriculum for the next generation to come, so they understand. If you ask me, I was a planning student of Pune University. When I was studying the issues of climate, the issue of disability and accessibility, the issue of air quality, they were never taught to us. These are the new areas which are emerging. So how do you equip students to really work on it? How and also cities need to have access to research on urban issues. So the academic institution, the students, you have to start looking at cities where you can do a research. When we look at our own research and when we start doing a thesis, and some of you are must be doing a thesis, we only refer to the thesis which is like हार्वर्ड का थीसिस को रेफरेंस करते हैं, ऑक्सफोर्ड के थीसिस को रेफरेंस करते हैं, and something. We never have an Indian references material. How do you create a repository of India case studies? And that is one objective where we are trying to work out a compendium of Indian case studies through these all programs, where our students can get this capacity tools to really work out. Students can get, academia can get those capacity repositories where we can establish a relationship between research and academic institution. Right now, it is very one-sided type of a relationship. How do there is a typical example where a lot of people give, and you are in Hamirpur. Tell it, if NIT would not have been Hamirpur and maybe in Dharamshala, would Hamirpur feel a pain? Or if you are neither the Dharamshala or Hamirpur will feel of your existence or not existence, nor you are getting benefit from the work which is happening in the Hamirpur city. How do you create a relationship between academic and institution? That has to be thought about very, very clearly. And so I particularly think as a thing we all need to start thinking, and I'm not have any answer. This is one way of we are doing it, creating a young professional program and all. But how do you structure is much better. We need a collaboration between the institutions, which we have started doing it. We need young people to also start having that interest in urban research. Youth to get into urban areas. What is the problem? If I have a problem in then I have to start thinking about it. So that's where I look at upon you to really start thinking urban as a core within your thought process, whether you are in technology, whether you are in areas. How do your work really gets contributed to the urban ecosystem and make a life much better for a citizen? So that's where I will look at your second thing, which I think is a young people need to drive and come quite clearly. We all talk about cities, but we also know the cities has to be planned. You cannot have spontaneous and informal growth, which is happening right now. They have to be a plan. If you really look at it, we have a 7,933 towns as of now, approximately. 65% does not have any planning instrument. So how do you plan if they do not have a planning instrument? They are just growing in a ad hoc manner. So how do you make this plan? We have a master plan, which is a stagnant once in 20 years. I take a big pride in saying that I am working on a master plan of Delhi, 2041. I don't see there is a planner on earth who can really think what Delhi will be 2041. Forget about, he cannot even think what it will be next month. When we take this type of plan, which has how do you make them much more vibrant, citizen oriented, really strategic, rather than doing a static exercise of land use planning. So that's the area where young people need to start thinking, how do we want to plan our cities? How do we, if you look at figures and you say opportunities, we have 0.23 credit planners per 1 lakh population. And whereas UK, if I compare that figure, is 38 planners per 1 lakh population. So, you understand the opportunity for young people to really get involved and dirty their hand to see how the city should be really planned. You know, so we have around 7,000 qualified planners for 7,935 towns. So you can say, just one planner per city. How do you plan for those cities? And we are talking about not only drainage, roads, traffic support, street lighting, but we also talking about parks, public spaces, climate, air quality. And where is the manpower to really manage that? So my second thing is that for young people to really work on it, start looking at city as an entity. How do you plan? How do you work? How do you contribute into the planning elements of the city? Second thing, which I had talked earlier about, also financing. Some of you are technology people. How do you make financing more viable? Because right now, the way cities are, they are totally dependent on either the central support, either the state government support. How do they improve their own source revenues? What are the way they can be a credit worthiness? If every city, if I want to put up money and I go home loan, they only look at my credit worthiness. If you want to look at a financing for city for your big infrastructure, you have to make them credit worthiness. So how do you look at it? How do you really create building blocks to improve the system of financing? That's a very great area where young people, you are techno financing equipped thing. How do you really bring those fintech type of models within the city's systems? So that's the second area where I think we need to look at it. How do you create this bouquet of financing options for cities to be viable, and see cities as an opportunity to really improve not only their own system, but also improve the economic viability of a city as a whole. So I particularly think urbanization should not be approached just as a cost, but it should be looked at as an investment. And the cost of urbanization is very, very minimal compared to the value it can generate. So how do you make that value, trigger the value of urbanization within the cities, is a second area. Third area, which I want you to look at it, and we all talked about earlier also, is culture of innovation. How to integrate or imbibe the culture of innovation within the cities. It has its own challenges. We have a city has challenges because even though you do a incubation innovations, you need to look at procurement issues. You have a financing issues. You have a scalability issues. All of them that are there. But how do you really bring uh, uh, idea of innovations, and during the COVID last year, a lot of new apps, new ways of technologies which has come up, new way of doing delivery services have come up. But how do you sustain them? How do you scale them? uh, you know uh, we should be move away from this supply driven engineering solutions, but to look at how do you do more with the less type of attitude, bring more efficiency within the limited budgets and financing situations we have. So that's a third area which I think, and the challenge for the last 2 years is how do you institutionalize this innovation towards economic growth and sustainability. So that's the area where I particularly think young minds of you are much more exposed to the new world than we were. And if you bring this uh, new thoughts of innovation within the city ecosystem, that would be a really uh, 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 appreciated, and build the cities for the future. uh Again, you people have been working on, and I think I am not a person to do it, but how do you really harness the power of data and technology? you know how do you really bring right now, if you really look at the policies which we are bringing, which is not a very much coming from the evidence based. They only come with because somebody has thought, hi, this must be a, it's like a information came from the upstairs, ye challenge hai isliye maine ye policy bring. It does not really trigger from the data which is coming up from the thing. So we need to really, we don't have a data strategy. We just started a program called every city have a city data officer. We don't have right now. If you really look at it, that's the area where we need to have. How do you bring city data officer in city? In ministry, we have started this experiment with 100 smart cities. I think that will be a great. But I also understand that great push is needed to create this culture of data in the state and cities, and data-driven governance systems has to be built up. And I think that's a great opportunity for young people and youth to get involved, to help city come up with a some kind of a promoting or institutions like NIT to promote urban research, which not only talks about innovations but also impact measurement, service level benchmarking, performance measurement. How do you really bring the database base of data culture to really design, deliver, and manage the state of our cities, which we want to really build over a period of time. So we all been talking about artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, virtual reality. I think these are the words which is you have been exposed to over a period of your course. But I think, how do you really use these technologies to within a speed and scale which can effectively manage the urban challenges? And so I think that's the area, and we need to have a conquered. We need to have a great investments in breeding these new technologies for urban India's context, and I think that's an area where we need to work quite really. Fifth area, which is right now we only talk about processes. ये होगा ये हुआ ये हुआ. We need to really start measuring these processes to a, so I always say that journey is from the process to performance. How do you really say that 5 years down the line, it's not that five TORs or 560 RFPs or 30,000 rupees have been spent, or 30,000 crore rupees have been spent to build roads. The impact has been how many people are walking on that road. Is that road accessible? Is that road disabled friendly? Is that road safe for the women? That is the, how do you start discourse from process to performance is an area where young people like you had to start. Right now we are doing a thing, but our if you really look at it, the whole performance management is basically a mission based or a program based approach. It's a very siloed approach. So we have around number of indices. We have a climate index where we look at climate of cities. We have municipal performance index. We have ease of living index. But the question is, are these indicators talking to each other? Are these, should we have, how does it, these all indicators, which all of them are, we have a Swachh Bharat indicators. They have multiple indicators. But how are they talking to each other? How are they influencing each other? How are they, you are saying that you are very good in Clean India campaign, but then you are not very good in municipal performance, or you are not very good in the ease of living. how do they talk about each other? How do they influence each other? That need to be really thought about, and that's the area where we need to really start. Uh, mm, because based on data and technology, we will also talk about transparency and governance. Because the issues which we have been, my generation has come, कुछ भी नहीं हुआ, corrupt था, अर्बन लोकल बॉडी वाला करप्ट था, पैसे खाता था। और ये तो सब स्मार्ट सिटी मिशन जब हुआ तो उसके आगे इतना 1,000 करोड़ रुपया बर्बाद हो गया। अरे ठीक है, आई एम नॉट सेइंग, बट द क्वेश्चन इज सो मच ऑफ have happened. Some integrated command and control center, when it was first came up, they said white elephants are being created. But during the COVID, these white elephants were the actually came up as a support system to the whole city level thing. So if you have to invest, but you have to bring those more transparency and accountability issues, and they will come with the through data and technologies, and bring the visible transformation which we are talking about, to measure the impact. So I particularly, these all issues are interlinked. Last, not last, but another point which we have to be talking about is, while we are talking about cities, we only talk about roads, we talk about infrastructure, we talk about housing, but cities are for citizens there. Citizen को तो बहुत बाद में बात करते हैं. How do you bring citizen on the forefront? This is what I want for my cities. I am doing a master plan of Delhi. Again, I'll come back to the same example. Uh, how many citizens I must have connected? Is a master plan demand driven? तो वो एक चेकलिस्ट कर दिया क्योंकि सबको है कि अच्छा मैंने 15 ग्रुप्स को बुला लिया, ऑनलाइन कर दिया, ये कर दिया, but have we institutionalized this process of citizen engagement, that ये has to happen? And I think that's where again your young people have to come up with the new ways of engaging with the citizens. And there are different examples we are looking at it, where citizens are being brought into their ideas, their thoughts, and all those things. So we have also trying them while working on a master plan. But I think this needs a lot of new solution, new areas, and we need to find of new solutions, so that we look at not only individual problems, communities problem, but we also look at a scale. So how do you bring that into the focus is area? It's not only saying that local को उनके पास क्या incentive है? Why should I support कि master plan में क्या है? So how do you incentivize their contribution to the cities? Those need to be thought about. There are advocism, everything happening in siloed approach, but these need to be. I think we all now talk about different type of stakeholder thing. उन stakeholders का multi-level stakeholders, multi type of stakeholders. How do you bring them all together? Not as a piecemeal activity, but as a structured process for citizen engagement. I think that's the challenge where young people can contribute much more. Last, again, another area is which is partnerships and collaborations, because nobody has answer, neither the urban local body, neither center. It has to be collaborative approach. We need to bring a private sector into a place. We need to bring different type of institutions together to work on the convergence, and collaboration is going to be the catalyst for the transformation. And that's the area where none, very few very little work has been done. So young people to really come up with a new ways of doing convergence and collaboration. I think that's the area where we need to really work quite a bit. How do you utilize aggregate this knowledge and innovations to unlock collaborations is going to be and develop these models of collaboration. I think that's where we need to really be putting a lot of efforts. But uh, uh, we need to give a lot of push on these areas. But one area which we have been not talking about quite a bit is communication, advocacy, and outreach. That's a area where we need to really focus substantively, because our stories, and I'll give you an example. I was in New York when I was a country representative of UN Habitat, and I was a part of one of the 192 countries assembly and opportunity, where I saw small little countries. They were talking about their success stories, and India was not on that platform. Why? Because we don't communicate, we don't document, we don't communicate our stories, our successes. We are always harsh upon ourselves. We need to really invest on communication tools where we start talking about our stories. Last 2 years, when I'm a UN Habitat director, I have been a jury of Smart City Awards for last 2 years, and I have seen around 4 or 5 award juries, and I see so many great things are happening, particularly in Vizag, in Surat, in small cities. There might be a small examples, but they are triggering so much of, they are becoming so much of lighthouses. But right now, what happened is that, the story of Vizag does not even move to another city next door neighbor. It remains in Vizag. What is the challenge? How do you bring it together so that people start peer-to-peer learning? How do you create this advocacy and outreach so that cities start learning from each other and start building on with each other? This is where we need to. These are the 9 areas where we need to really work. And in a concluding, I will just say that we need to focus on a citizen centric approach. We need to focus on a core infrastructure and quality of life, where I think young people can contribute. Young people can also contribute on delivery of services. How do you look at last mile delivery of services? Because government of is through their missions is putting up a basic infrastructure, the last mile connectivity. What are those models for last mile connectivity? How do you use technology to enhance the efficiency of delivery? How do you really make all that work we are talking about is future ready for environmental sustainability? We do not spoil that. So how do you mainstream those climate actions within the day-to-day functioning of urban local bodies? What need to be done for that? And lastly, how do you shift from project approach to outcome approach, whereas we also looked at the inclusivity angle, that all the sections of society are a part of it, and we make inclusive cities and sustainable cities. And I think that's where the approach we need to really start thinking. And young people like you need to start contributing and thinking urban local bodies or urban local governments as a carrier, as an opportunity to really soil your hands and dirty your hands and work towards the new urban future. Because we all know, and I think you also know that our cities are much more than what we are imagining. Uh, Actually, they hold the golden ticket for India to be a leadership role in the global economy. I looking at it, I particularly see the type of leadership we need to really build in within our city systems. Type of governance system we need to build in. And young people has to see a way to this, and they need to engage to transform the urbanization. And I think I have talked about various streams, but I particularly think you need to move through the actions, through advocacy, through innovations, and also through your institution on education systems in this. So again, thank you for giving me an opportunity. I hope I tried to cover as long as aspects as I could. And thanks for patience hearing also, because even though I can't see your face and I don't know whether this lecture was a torture or brought some new thinking on you, but thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Hitesh Vaidya for gracing this session with his presence and being a part of Tech-Nexus. We all got to know a lot about what urban development really is and what role youth can play. One major takeaway, what I think I had, was that urban development should revolve around people and making the infrastructure more sustainable. So personally, I had a lot of questions I wanted to ask, and I think most of the question got cleared after I listened to you. But still, some more question that I want, what we all want to ask you. One of them is, first we talk about innovative minds in India, but a problem prevalent in India is that of brain drain. Okay, so people go out of India in order to get better facilities. because they know, like in developed countries, there are better facilities. But because of that, a good chunk of innovative minds in India go out of India, and the facilities in India still remain underdeveloped. So, what solution do you think can be applied for this?
That is what I say. Why don't you young people see opportunity in building? But who will build? I think if you think government alone can build, the speed and scale and the complexity of India is much more difficult than any other European and Western city. See of the population size they have and we have, and I think it depends on all of us have to start contributing towards this urban discourse. I know that brain drain is a big challenge. It has been a challenge for things, but if Indians can go back to Singapore, go in Singapore, and he will not even spit on the road. Whereas when as soon as he gets down at the airport and get out of the airport, he will first thing he will be spitting that out of airport, because the regulatory framework, the legal framework is so relaxed. We need to build those, that if we want to have Indians who are outside India will behave differently. When they come back to India, they will behave differently. So how do you really create that education system where citizens or young Indians start contributing to a better quality of life? Right now, they think that it is a responsibility Bharat Sarkar ka hai. Sarkar वो मेरा पिता है, वो पानी मेरे को मुफ्त देगा, मैं पानी लूंगा, बस खत्म है, वो उसकी जिम्मेदारी है. Nothing is free in this world. How we need to create that culture that nothing will come free. People have to pay for it because government does not have a machine capable of going contributing and doing it. So how do you really build that models where citizens start contributing and they start seeing a value in what urban local bodies are doing? Because they are just doing a minimum function, but others have to be contributed by young people like us. Not me actually. I'm a Buddha like, but I am saying that we need to start looking at our education system. We need to look at our ways of engaging with the young people. All of that need to be strengthened. But it's not that somebody else will do it. We have to do it as a community, as a citizen, and we need to start deliberating. And that's one thing which we are saying. We need to really start demanding those issues. Unless we start demanding those discussions or deliberations, like I see a great opportunity like this type of where we can discuss, deliberate, and then influence the minds of things. So we need to create those platforms at different levels, and that is where we are trying to do India Smart City Fellowship Program, Advocacy Program, is the young people to come and join them, this practitioners network, where they can bring these ideas, and they also see that they are being think, because उस साइड टेबल के उस साइड बोलना बहुत आसान है, टेबल के इस साइड करना बहुत ही मुश्किल है. द चैलेंजेस व्हिच आवर सिटीजंस फेस, ऐसा लगता है, एंड आई यूज्ड टू गिव दिस एग्जांपल कि 74th अमेंडमेंट बनाने के बाद जो हमने अपने सिटीज को वो एक वो होता ना, महाभारत में भीष्म पितामह का आशीर्वाद दे को जैसे आशीर्वाद मिल गया था, आयुष्मान भव. बट आयुष्मान भव तो दे दिया आपने कि वो अब आप रहेंगे, पर उसके साथ फाइनेंसेस भी देने पड़ेंगे, फंक्शंस भी देने पड़ेंगे, फंक्शनरीज भी देने पड़ेंगे. वो हमने नहीं दिए, और फिर हम चाहते हैं कि तेंदुलकर जाके सेंचुरी बनाए, तो वो तो होगा नहीं. सो वी नीड टू रियली लुक एट आवर इंस्टीट्यूशनल स्ट्रक्चर्स, गवर्नेंस स्ट्रक्चर्स, सो दे कैन उसके देने के बाद भी आज भी हमारी सिटीज 50 run बना रही हैं. I think that's where I think we need to applaud. They may not be making a century, but they are not getting out less than 50.
Yes. So along the same line, when you talked about education, does NIUA have some sort of plans to partner with educational institute? Does it currently have? And if yes, how can innovative institutes like NIT Hamirpur partner and work with NIUA and bring change in the society?
Yeah. So two things we are doing it. We are working in one thing which I said about planning institutions. We have working with partnering with Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog has come up with a report where it has realized all the complexities of planning in the cities, and it has come up with a great recommendation. And they are being thought of the implementation of those recommendations. And NIO is a part of that discourse which Niti is really championing to change the planning structures within the city. So that's one area where we are working. As an NIUA, like NIT Hamirpur can work because we are opening up to all the planning institutions and academic institutions to be a part of this network, which is called right now it is named as Smart Cities and Academic towards Action and Research. I think NIT Hamirpur can come up. It's called SAR, which was launched yesterday. The idea is to bring demand and supply together. So, what is the demand from the cities, and what is the supply by the institutions, by the different types of multi-level institutions, and by the government institutions. So, how do you bridge the gap between the demand and supply? That's what NIUA is trying to fulfill. And NIT Hamirpur is welcome to be a part of that. So, as I gave you an example of Hamirpur being in Hamirpur, NIT being Hamirpur and not in Hamirpur, how can we can make a linkages between Hamirpur city and all the you as a student of Hamirpur, if you go out for your dissertation, why can't you work your dissertation, your internship within the Hamirpur city? We can facilitate those type of things. Government of India has also come up with a TULIP, a program called, it's the internship program for people. That's an open platform. You can apply through TULIP platform, and cities are putting up a demands, type of skills they are looking for, and they are being paid internship on the TULIP. So after your graduation, after your graduation, you can engage with the cities, and I think these are the models of engagement which we are being thought of and are being, they need to be scaled up, they need to be pushed. It's not कि platform बना दिया और वो चल पड़ेगा, उसको ऑपरेशन करना पड़ेगा, उसमें उसके लिए बहुत सारा आवश्यकता है. प्लेटफॉर्म बनाना एक है, बट उसको ऑपरेट करना इज अ चैलेंज, एंड आई थिंक दैट्स वेयर वी आर लुकिंग फॉर यंग माइंड्स टू रियली contribute and make up this. TULIP platform was made by 2 interns at the ministry and with the support of AICT. So that's the area where we need to work and make cities as a better place. So you start looking at Indian cities and not look them as a challenge, but as a positivity. I think things will definitely be better.
Yeah, it was indeed lovely talking to you, and I hope we keep in touch, NIT Hamirpur and you can keep in touch and work together. So now I would like to invite Plaksha for the vote of thanks.
Gratitude is one of the least articulate of the emotions, especially when it is deep. It is a privilege to be asked to cast a vote of thanks. It has been a great honor to host you all. First of all, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to Mr. Hitesh Vaidya for his exemplary presence in this session. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your inspiring words. We got a lot to learn from you. I would also like to thank the institutional authorities for their help and cooperation, as well as the entire Tech-Nexus team for the efficient management of the session. Last but not the least, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our audience, without whom this session would not have been possible. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Soon, so be sure to join it.
Thank you.